very good friend of about 50 years, Prince Engr, for giving me the opportunity to stand here. So, any UI students here? Hands up. Great UIs. About 40 years ago, I graduated from this university in electronic engineering. And so, before I start this, next slide. Before I start my topic, I just want to take you through my journey so that helps you, that changes your mind, that changes your mindset of how you should be looking at yourself. Nursery school, well, that's the foundation, the formative years. Then primary school, I went to a school in Ibadan here. So all my journey has been in Ibadan, Nigeria. I went to a school, primary school, whereby we learned times table. And you have to put it in your head then. What has that done for me? It helped me to do calculations visually, just thinking, doing mathematical calculations. So that's taking me to my journey. Then from there, I went to a secondary school in Ibadan, Government College Ibadan, where I met with Engr. And what did I learn there? No mobile phones, transistor radios. So you pause with transistor radios. And when we listen to music, I like to hear bass, but you can't get bass on a transistor radio. So what did I do? I had to be creative. Get a pole and put the transistor radio to project in that bowl, and it gives me bass. Now, going with that, I came here to University of Ibadan for my degree in electrical and electronic engineering. And by the time I was doing my project, where I did for 24 as well, we were coding with cards. And you have to do Q by the zoology Q to put the card there to do your code. And what happens, it will fail. Then you have to go back overnight to do that. And then by the time I did my project, it was on a multiplexer unit. I had to put chips on a cardboard board, use soldering iron, and use wires to achieve what I wanted. Creativity, I'm trying to tell you. And then, what's my post-education? After my degree, I traveled abroad. And what happened was I was fortunate. Somebody mentioned certificate. Yes, the certificate, you get you somewhere, but what take you up further are your skills. So I happened to work in a company that manufactured parts for aeroplane using robots. That was in 1990. And so that was the first time I saw how the robots move very fast. Now, when I finished with that, I started to think about programming. And I self-taught myself programming. How? I saw the end result and I said, I want to know how this works. So I reversed engineering and learned to code. When we were coding, like engineer Popola said, we have, if you are going to put a USB in a computer, then you can put it. You have to open the computer. You have to do some settings. They call it interrupt and IO based, and it works, and you put it back. If you want to change it, you have to open it again. So learning was difficult then. Would I say there were no bombs? No, there were bombs. But with your passion, you can get there. So what we used to do then is we go to the library, we borrow books, and then we learn. But now you have every gadget on your hands. So what's the excuse? We'll go there. So thank you for this. So that's my journey. Next slide. Right. So robotics. I want you to do something. I want you to raise up your hand and put it down. Okay, thank you. You know what you've just done? You're going to teach the robot to do that. So that part of thing I just told you is got to do with mechanical engineering, when you have movements, electrical engineering, when you send signals, computer science, when you do coding, and then artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is when you train an object to do exactly what humans do artificially. You build intelligence into that object. So you use coding and every other aspect of it. like I said, okay, so there was some robotics, famous examples of the software, as you can see, of the Hong-Kong-based company that build robots, and the robot will speak and it will attend to people, and then it will answer questions, it will talk. All those things that the robot is doing is being trained to do it, right? So, in fact, in a way, they just said they make it a citizen in Saudi Arabia because you can do a lot of things. Next slide. Now, I just told you, I just asked you to raise your hands, and you did it. What happened there in the robotic term is that you saw what I did. That's computer vision. So you train the robots to look and then do what you've done. And then when the robot sees it, there's something you call speech recognition, whereby the robot can hear you and convert it to something else, or the robot, you type in and the robot returns back something that you call natural language processing. So, after that, all built into the robot, machine learning. If I ask a child to do what I do, the child is not likely to understand what I'm saying. But because the child has been trained over years, machine learning, that's the way it works, so the child knows what I asked him or her to do. So you train the robots to learn those things. And when I started programming in 1996, I've been programming since then, what I discovered along the line up to today was that we write codes and the computer does it. Now it's the other way. We still do that, but it's the other way. The machine, you feed the machine with data, and the machine will look, you have algorithms that will read that data and says, oh, I can predict something based on the data that I have. If, for example, I meet a friend and say, can we have a meeting together? It comes in the right time, that's fine. Another time, it's late. Then over about 10 periods, it's late for the meeting or on time. I can just say it's always on time or it is late. I have to look at the data over many times. That now makes me to predict what that person will do. So that's predictive analytics, right? Now, in the learning approaches of a robot, there is something you call supervised learning and unsupervised. So when you look at ChatGPT, it's built on something called large language models. So ChatGPT is supervised. So that is when you say, if I enter this, like engineer said and the prof, it looks at the whole of the data and comes back. So it's supervised. You accept something back. The unsupervised is when you have automation, robots learning by themselves, robots even teaching themselves how to do things based on the past experiences. That's unsupervised. And that's when you go into something you call neural networks, which has got to do with the way human being thinks, with the neurons in the brain, how you learn things. So you have an example of this Alexa and Siri. But one thing in my journey that I would need to let you know, don't ever think that you have to be an engineer, you have to be a mechanical, electrical, or whatever. What I learned was that in most of my coding years, is that it's my thinking that really counts. I use a bit of mathematics sometimes, or if I get somebody to do it. But whether you are a language student or whatever, you can do this. An engineer, people I mentioned, anybody can do this. But you have to be able to think and be dedicated and be passionate. Okay, next slide, please. Now, data science. So the data science part of it, like I mentioned, is that you have to feed the robot with data so that it can learn and can predict things. So it covers a lot of things. I mentioned predictive analytics. These are all the things you can do. You can do almost anything with robotics. almost anything. What you need is, like I said, you need to be able to think. And when you're programming, like I can do programming for 20 hours a day and not get tired because I'm passionate. But one thing is that the programmers in most cases, you have to lock yourself somewhere because you follow a train of thoughts. And if it's disturbed, you cannot go further, you have to go back. If I need to, my good friend again, Popola, when I write a program, it will work perfectly. I use test driven, meaning that when I write a program, I try to fail it myself, even when I wrote it. And if it doesn't fail, then I know it works. So in most cases, by the time it gets to the testers, they will get a lot of things to do. So you have to lock yourself somewhere and think. No water, no nothing, think. And I've been opportunity to work in different parts of the world, UK and this country, and I can tell you that Nigeria is blessed by you guys. You are talented. We have a website that will teach you all this. And guess what? That website was developed by Nigerians living in Nigeria. If you look at it, I've worked with people outside the country. We can't beat Nigerians. If I'm standing here to tell you this, and I'm a Nigerian that grew up here, you can do it. Right? So, next slide, please. So you can see what's happening in the world, how the AI industry is growing, and the amount of money spent. The starting gun has been fired, but we are barely at the starting line. So what I'm going to say to you is that you can do this. You can do this, and you'll get a lot of hands to help you do this. Next slide, please. Are we saying that robotics has not happened in Nigeria? Yes, there are a lot of people in Abuja, FGC, Shagamu, that built robots. So it's not that it's not happening, it is happening, and we have the capacity to do that. Though there are challenges, which I will mention, yeah? So the challenges are like things like adequate tools, the skills, and lack of training, and you have opportunities. And what I've learned is that even if you plant a seed that gives you a beautiful flower, the flower doesn't come in immediately. What if it does is, the seed does is, it goes down deep to find its roots, it goes different places. There are obstacles, but it finds a way there. And when it's settled, then the tree starts growing. The foundation is key here. You have to get your foundation right. You have to understand things because you are going to be hit with problems. So you have the opportunities to do a lot of things you want to do. See what the opportunity you have at hand, and you can do it because you have the tools that allows you to do it. Your mobile phone. Okay, so you can see your mobile phone. You can use this AI. You have targeted marketing. So that's why when you open your phone, it throws some things at you because the AI has learned the things you like to do and just pushes those to you. So how do you get there? Next slide, please. Yeah. So you can see all the languages you need to learn, but please don't think it is difficult. So if I may bring to you what President J.F. Kennedy said in 1962. He said, we are going to send a man to the moon. And it's not because it's easy, it's because it's difficult. You cannot grow unless you have issues to deal with. It's very, very difficult. And guess what they did? They sent the man from here to the moon. So that's why sometimes when people say, oh, it's not a rocket science, what they're saying is the rocket science is very complex, very, very complex. And again, going back to the software engineering, what happens is when you start writing a code, I was part of the era that were writing thousands of lines of code. Now it gets done for you. You will write a lot of lines of code, and you have to know where you put all those things. And what will happen is, go back in 3 months' time, you won't believe you wrote the same thing because How did I write it? How did it work? So that's one of the things that he mentioned, documentation of the software. So going back to this robotics, so the things that are quite important are the programming languages, and trust me, anybody can write it. Machine learning, those are the things you need to learn. Data manipulation analysis, database management, that's where you keep your data. And it's always continuous learning. If you don't continue to learn, whether you're in IT or anything, you'll be left behind, because no employer wants to buy or wants your service if you are obsolete. And again, what are the opportunities for you? You can get trained as a beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And the key idea of this is we want to teach you how to make a robot build and talk and do everything, or you can do it. Right? So now, is it easy? No, it's not. My journey in life tells me that. When I get a brief to write a code, I have no idea how it's going to work. But I say to myself, oh yes, it can work. And the first thing I look at is, it's complex. And then you break it down into chunks and take each one iteratively, like my good friend said, and then work on that, work on the next one, and keep joining them together to make it work. The first step is always difficult in anything you do. But when you get on the ladder, once you start, it becomes easy. Not even programming. Look at anything you do. Once you start doing it, it becomes very easy. So I'm looking forward to you guys being the leader in this area, because this area is transferable anyway. Even if you jump out, like we said, you've got to learn skills to be acceptable. Because if you're going somewhere, if you're coming to sell me oranges and you don't even know what is in the orange, why should I buy from you? So those are the things that you need to learn. And trust me, you can do it. We are here, you can see the number of experts here that have come to talk before me. We've come to give back to you to make sure Nigeria is great and you make your money legitimately using your brain, that you'll be so proud of yourself. And thank you very much for listening to this.
Wow. Please keep it up. Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Oh. You know what I feel like doing now? I feel like flying.